Good. I've just started the recording. Sandra, can you tell that I've just started the recording? Just want to make sure it's functioning.
It is all good.
Terrific. All right. Well, welcome. Welcome, welcome. And I can hear the little beeps of more people coming in. That's great. We've got a good crowd already. And welcome to our Leadership and Coaching Skills to Grow and Excel as a Leader. I'm Alison Hendrix. I'm CEO and founder of Coaching Out of the Box. And we're delighted to be here today to share with you what we know about this and hopefully we will also be having a demo today. I'm just going to move into a little bit more about who I am. For some of you, you may already know who I am. Some may have not met me before. As I said, I'm the CEO and founder of Coaching Out of the Box, and I am absolutely beside myself passionate about coaching and getting the ability to coach into the hands as many people as possible. As you may have seen, our vision and mission is, what if everyone had coaching skills? And so far, we're making traction in that regard. We've had well over 18,000 people through our programs, and I took my experience as an executive coach, longtime executive coach, and also as a coaching educator to create Coaching Out of the Box, because I wanted to make it as easy as possible for as many people to learn this potent and powerful these skills, and also hopefully make it as cost effective as possible. So we work with people who are looking to achieve their ICF credential. We're a big fan of the ICF. We'll say a little bit more about that in a few minutes. And we're also looking to support leaders and managers and people in organizations in also having these very, very potent and powerful skills. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to also introduce the other people that are here to support the webinar today. And I'll just move the slide across. We have Merv Rogers. Merv, can we see you, or are you already showing yourself?
I happen to be here, as a matter of fact. Yes, thank you.
That's good. And we're seeing your face?
Well, I am. I hope the rest of you are.
Okay. Yes, there you are. I have a panel to go through. Okay. Well, Merv has been coaching since 1996, same length of time as me, and is a master certified coach, one of only around 1,000 now in the world. It's a very, very rigorous accomplishment to achieve that credential. And as you can see, we've got a lot of information about Merv here, and he works with CEOs, he works with CFOs, general managers, and in all kinds of different types of organizations. And also, it's so interesting, Merv, if you could say just a little bit more about your latest research. I think that's so cool to share that.
Well, we researched that if you eat a hot dog in the morning, no, I'm only no, well, you know what's fascinating is the research started on a personal journey in terms of helping people transform who they are from a spiritual perspective. But what was very profound was the process that an individual goes through in their development or their awareness or widening their spiritual awareness is the exact same process, really, that organizations need to go through to change their culture, since culture is very much around the beliefs and behaviors and so forth. And so that was not only fascinating, a phenomenal discovery, because now you can proselytize, you can make a system, you can make, you can declare to an organization the process for change around culture, and they can ground it in something that they know personally. So it was very fascinating to see the connection, and didn't anticipate that.
Well, it's fascinating, and Merv is a very important part of our team and really supports us with our curriculum design for our programs that we deliver virtually, as well as when we're working with organizations. And he also is our his title is Chief Coaching Officer, because he supports the development of our coach facilitator team. And we have a team of coach facilitators as well. So he plays a very, very important role here at Coaching Out of the Box. And we'll be speaking during this webinar as well as we move through the topic. And in addition, we also have Sandra Mall. And Sandra, if you could reveal yourself on the video, there she is. And Sandra is another core team member. She's a program advisor at Coaching Out of the Box. So if you have any questions about our programs, any of that sort of thing, you will be communicating with Sandra for the most part. And I wonder if Sandra, if you wanted to just say a couple of little things, and then we'll move on from there. But suffice to say that she is very, very important to us here at Coaching Out of the Box, and a great contributor.
Well, thank you. Hi, all. I'm Sandra. I'll be managing the chat today, so be sure to put any questions or comments you have in there. I am the program advisor here at Coaching Out of the Box. I love to talk to you, so if you ever have any questions about coaching in general or about any of our offerings, please feel free to reach out at any time.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Sandra. And I will be introducing someone else a little bit later when we get into the coaching demo, who is somebody who, Cliff Rafael, who has been willing to agree to be coached a little later in the webinar. And I'm just so delighted to have Cliff here. And so you'll see him in a little while. All right. So what are we covering today? Well, we're talking all about leadership and coaching. And one of the things that we want to focus on is to share a few distinctions with you about that, and what happens for a leader when they're coaching, and what are the different hats they wear. And you'll see that in a few minutes when we get talking about that. We're also going to talk about the impact that coaching, equipping people with coaching skills in organizations has had, and its results that we were provided with as a result of, and we presented to Harvard Medical School, McLean Hospital, and Institute of Coaching a little while ago, that are very exciting results and very potent and powerful results. So we're going to be talking about that. We're also going to be talking about coaching and sustainable change, because of course, how does that support sustainable change? What happens? What is that all about? And then we're going to be getting into a key coaching skill demo. So you can see it in action, and you can see what it looks like and what it feels like. So for some of you who haven't experienced that, this may be this may hopefully will be very helpful to you. The other thing that we want to do is so those are our objectives, but also what we want to do is we want to just also, and I'm just looking for my little list here, because I'm going to put it up. What we want to know, what we want to understand too, is about you. You're here attending this webinar. So I have a very short poll that I'm going to put up. It has 5 questions. Oops. And it will help us just know, launch poll. So there we go. I'm launching the poll. And if you could answer those 5 questions, or the questions that you can best answer, that will be a big help to us in knowing the attendees in the classroom, and just the different types of people that are coming to our webinar. So I know you're now viewing the questions. So great. You're starting to come through with them. So that's fantastic. So we'll just let that go for a second. And then what I'll do is I'll end it shortly. I'll give it about another, just let me see how many have done it. Okay, we're moving through it. This is good. Still a few more seconds and we'll, good, we're getting close to having it pretty much everybody do it. Almost there. Just a few more. Okay, all right. So I'm going to end the poll, and I'm going to share the results too. So very interesting. We've got a number of leaders on our webinar today who are using the coach approach already. Fantastic. And in the chat area, you may want to, as we move through this, you may want to make a comment or two. Also, we've got a large number who are here who are wanting to incorporate coaching into their leadership. Well, you've come to the right spot. We're going to be talking about that. And that's a huge growing area for coaching now, because organizations and individuals are really recognizing the power of it. And we've also, this is fantastic, we've had 91% experience being coached themselves. And we have a number who are ICF credentialed, about 17%. And we've got also a number who are currently attending a coach training program. So we've got a real interesting mix of participants for today. So that's great. So I'm going to stop sharing that, and we're going to move back to where the agenda was. Just bear with me here. So I'm going to move on to the next slide. And I'm going to let Merv take over at this point. And Merv, just let me know when you want me to, move to the next slide.
Sure. This is either a surprise to no one or a surprise to all of us, meaning that this is the official definition from the ICF of what coaching is, and every single one of us will have a slightly different one. The words that I want you to pull out of this one, because we're connecting coaching to leadership, is this really shift of partnering with their employees, with the clients, or whomever the designee is. This is an aspect of leadership that we're really adding on. Coaching really adds that, rounds out that leadership. So leaders have, set direction, they set vision, set criteria, measure. All those things are very valid as a leader. What coaching brings to a leader is this partnering piece of being in tandem or in work with, in collaboration with the individual, whether it be in collaboration with the individual's development or individual's clarity or awareness. The other thing that I'll bring to your attention is the word process that's in there, or process, depending on which side of the border you operate from. And coaching is a process. Absolutely is. It's not something that just flukes and happens in a conversation, although conversation is the media that we use, the medium that we use. But it really is a process. And so let's kind of shake that. Any surprises? If you've got a surprise by that definition, please declare. Anything surprising on that screen? Yeah. So it's just a really fundamental way of describing what this mechanism of having a unique conversation called coaching is. Let's go to the next slide and talk about kind of from a leadership perspective. A leader holds many hats. A leader might hold a hat of being subject matter expert, might be the hold of hat of trainer, and so forth. In the aspect of developing others, a leader has many hats. The leader plays the mentor role and plays a manager role. Please never ask us why we chose to use a watering can floating in the air. This will be a mystery to all of us, but nonetheless, if you can imagine the graphic really saying that from a mentor perspective, the wisdom and direction is coming from the mentee, or the individual being mentored. And the manager, I can see, I even screw up my own graphic. In a mentor situation, when I'm wearing my mentor hat, I'm the one that knows, and the employee is sucking all this in. In the manager hat, I'm the one that sets the criteria for success. I'm the one that measures performance. I'm the one that's providing feedback, and the employee is sopping up my wisdom and direction. In a coaching environment, it's the other way. And that's a huge shift for leaders. And what we say is that for many leaders nowadays, or managers, your definition of the word, they come to their job probably understanding mentoring. They probably understand what it's like to be a subject matter expert and communicate and or train or experience or tool up others, the mentee role or the mentor role. And they probably either have been trained or come by it naturally to understand the management role, defining and measuring and providing feedback. What coaching adds is rounds out that leader. It provides them another avenue to have a third style of conversation where it's really all about the employee. It's about their development, what's happening for them, what it is that they can and will be doing to make them stronger. So the wisdom is coming from the coachee in this case, not the watering can, as you notice. And so our objective here isn't to teach leaders to be mentors or leaders to be managers. Our intent is to add or tack on this extra communication tool called coaching, right? And Alison, tell us about the impact, what you've seen when you've able to latch that onto from a leadership perspective.
Right, and that's why, and it's so exciting to see the, Merv and I have been in coaching for quite some time, and what we're seeing now is, I don't know if it's an explosion, but it's certainly been considerable growth in organizations wanting to equip their leaders and managers, etc., to develop, in these skills. And here's why. And I want to just preface this. We've worked with a number of organizations over the years, and one large organization that employs 150,000 people and is in multiple locations, brought in coaching. And they started using a particular approach and so on, and it was kind of okay. It kind of went okay. It was all right, but it was very, very it was very slow. It was very slow growing. It wasn't really happening. And to toot our horn, they came upon our 555 coaching skills training program at a conference and saw our materials displayed and so on and so forth, and looked at it and went, I think we should use this because I think it's going to have more traction. This was the idea of the people that had were looking at it. And so what happened was they started to use it, and all of a sudden, and these were people who were trained, who were educated coaches and so on, that were working internally in this very, very large organization. But what was so interesting is what happened was it just started to take off. And people were getting excited, and they actually were getting waiting lists, and they still have waiting lists of people wanting to take this and wanting to learn some coaching skills that they can use within this very large organization. So after about 18 months of this happening, the organization said, we got to find out what the heck this is doing. What is it doing? I knew nothing about this. I did not know that they were hiring external consultants to assess, plus doing a lot of internal assessments as well with coach focus groups and surveys and interactions, as well as external consultants to come in and assess what is happening. What is happening as a result of this? Now remember, this was after 18 months. And these were the top 7 results that you're seeing on the screen. And so, I always say to people, what if in your organization, and actually in your life in general, because this applies that way too, you had improved listening. Well, that's what they came out with. You had improved communication. You had improved conflict resolution. You had improvement in team dynamics and team communication. You had improved ability to give feedback. I mean, that's huge in organizations. And you had, well, not and, there's a final one, but positively impacted relationships, plus increased ability to engage staff in conversations that are solutions focused and promote accountability. These were the 7 qualitative findings that came out of their work, not mine, their work. And so what happened was, and you'll see in tiny, tiny print, and you might not even be able to see that, there was an evaluation framework and logic model developed and designed to measure the outcomes related to the implementation of a coach approach program, which this is, data collection via pre and post surveys, focus groups, and external consultant, as I mentioned, analyze the data and summarize conclusions. And what happened was, this was so exciting to see this, that myself and another woman that worked within this large system, this large organization, applied to present these findings a few years ago. And so it's very, very exciting to see that. We also happen to have, and we'll send, when we send a follow-up email after the webinar, we have a white paper that was created that we talk about these findings, as well as 2 other organizations that we worked with and the findings that they came up with. And there's much, much more detail in that. So we'll provide you with that information so you can access that as well. And I'm curious in sharing this, because on this webinar today, I know we have coaches, we have leaders who are coaches, and we also have people who are developing as coaches and so on. And I'm curious if anybody could be willing to share in the chat at least, how's this landing and what are you seeing? Because you're out there in the field, and we have different people here who are working in different organizations, and I'm just curious, does this resonate with you? What's coming up for you as you're hearing this? Anybody want to share? Okay, I'm looking. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, yeah. I'm seeing. Who's that? Robin? I heard somebody say something.
Yep, you certainly had Robin talk about hope and wellness for organizations. You're absolutely right.
Okay.
You see the difference, but buy-in from the top is difficult. Amen on that one. You and I on the same page. We're gonna try to help you with that one next, actually.
Yeah, exactly. Great reinforcement of what I already know. Yep, right. This is huge. Opportunity to develop trust with teams and attract talent. Yeah, that's very, very, very significant. Anybody else? I'm just gonna give it another moment. In any case, it's very, very exciting. But here's another piece to this that I think is also exciting to see. And I'll just move the slide across. Yeah, okay, that's great, Laurel, no problem. Or Robin, I'm not sure if it's Robin or Laurel. Anyway, excellent, yes, just take it all in. So, in addition, so what happened is that this organization was a large healthcare system. And originally, they said, oh, this is going to be for our leaders and managers and directors and so on. But what happened was, and we called it, the topic, when we presented, we said, coaching went viral in this healthcare system. And then we came up with another term, infectious spread of coaching. So what happened was it started, with teams and leadership. But what happened was it spread far beyond this and beyond their wildest imaginations, the people that were part of this. So you can see it, leadership, teams, but it's moved into patients, family, clinicians, acute rehab team, family practice physicians, people working with people with eating disorders, child life specialists. So this was way beyond what anybody had ever expected was going to happen. And I can't tell you how many people have said to me, my goodness, if it can work in healthcare, it can work anywhere, because of course in healthcare you have enormously multiple stakeholder groups, for one. I mean, you just, you know, from all different facets. And the other thing that I found, I can't tell you how many times I would go to different meetings where they'd gather together these people that were implementing this throughout the organization, and they were beyond, it was so inspiring, because the stories that they would come up with of how this had spread. So I'll just share one little one with you, and that is, you see this one, the acute rehab team. I worked with children in this one hospital that was part of this large system. And what happened was, what was happening was, these children would come in with just catastrophic injuries that, you know, they would rehab them, they would work with them, and so on, and the families were there at times and so on. But the challenge was, when the children were ready, you know, it was time for them to go back and be integrated into their families. And this was a real problem, because the families had they had different expectations of what was going to happen once this child came home, and it was very, very challenging, because of course the child was not the same child that it had been before. And so what happened is that the team started to integrate and use the coaching skills that they had learned with these families. And they found it so potent and powerful. The families, as well as the team, were so excited and moved by the impact that that was having in how the parents and the child, but the parents in particular, and the siblings, were adapting to these children being brought in to this. And so I just think that is so cool to see that. So it was like this pebble in the pond, and then all of a sudden, boom, it happened. And I can see a note here. I'm just looking. Peter. Hi, Peter. Peter's saying they're not a surprise. If one has the opportunity to take approach to an organization, this can happen. Good point. Yeah, I guess they were kind of surprised at how quickly and how much it was moving forward. So Peter, excellent comment that you're making. Thank you. So that is the impact. That is what is, I think, fueling some of the growth that is occurring. And so now I'm going to move you back over to Merv, and move on to the next slide, because this is all about change, isn't it? So I'll let Merv take it from here for a bit.
Yeah, no, thanks, and I appreciate that. And to somebody's point that we reiterated, you know, it's hard to get the top bought in until you can prove some return on investment. And those kinds of studies, and there's a couple more we'll share with you, demonstrate kind of the tangible. But I will suggest to you that the most tangible for most leaders is their ability, or increasing ability, to manage their staff and their organization through change. If you have any leader that is not touched with change, then I would consider a job change. I'm not convinced that they're connected to the direction of the company, because the leader's job now is about change, as you well enough guess. And so this does not surprise you that this is why coaching can be so powerful, that it's now a tool, or has always been, but it's a tool that the leader now can also depend upon in terms of providing support for people through change. That's not to say that, you know, the change management process that we teach people, and the change curve and all that stuff doesn't work. It does. But what continues to be missing in any change effort is the people side, the people dynamic. And that's what coaching brings to a leader. So very much, I like to consider it to be a new muscle for leaders to step into. 65% of you are already probably doing that, according to the survey that we did at the beginning of this exercise, saying that you've already developed a coach approach in your leadership style. And to me, it's a never-ending opportunity, never-ending development opportunity. So let's talk more about change, particularly in the next slide as well, is when we bolt coaching to a leadership style, when we bolt coaching to a management style, it gives us a much wider ability to deal with what is. Wider ability to now step into the beliefs and the behaviors of our people. What do they believe about the organization? What do they believe about the change? Do they believe it's even possible? Do they believe it's the proper thing to do? Have we understood the risks as the employees see it? And all of these kinds of approaches, or all these kinds of dynamics or pieces of information now can be gathered using those coaching techniques. And it's a way in which to really, in my opinion, accelerate people through the change curve. The change curve is always going to happen, and there'll be 6 or 7 steps or 10, whatever model you have, those steps will exist. The leader's challenge isn't whether or not their people go through the curve, because they will. The leader's challenge is how long will it take for them to go through that curve, and how deep of an impact will that make? Because we know that when they're in the change curve, productivity tanks. It's a given, it's a knowledge, it's acceptable. Question is how long will productivity tank? And with coaching, you can now start to modify or decrease the impact of change in terms of productivity, output, and certainly return on investment. One of the things, and the next slide shows you, that we're all after is this thing called sustainable change, which is kind of a joke because we get things changed and then we want it to change again. But this defines what sustainable change is. It's not likely to be an end state, right? Sustainable change tends to be a point in time that we're going to continue to add on. But quick, questions from you or thoughts from you. What is it about change or the situations that cause it to be unstable? What conditions are we providing in organizations today that causes change to not stabilize itself? What are your thoughts? What's the root cause behind some of these things? Why is change not stable? Yeah, huge resistance, right? And so telling people how to change and what to do is wonderful. Helping them through the change curve using coaching techniques is effective. Absolutely. Resistance gets in the way all the time. What else? What else is preventing sustainable change in organizations? Absolutely. Clarity of communication, clarity of outcome. Why are we doing this change? One of the things that the leader is never taught is to dance and execute around the question why we're doing things, or even declare why we're doing things. Coaching helps individuals ask those questions. Here's another piece of it. You know all these things, so let's move on to the next slide and say that what you want to be able to connect coaching to are, these solutions, right? So coaching will bring the individual to their root cause. What's causing the resistance? What's underneath the fear? What's this communication or the knowledge that they're missing? So it provides clarity. It brings awareness to their own being stuckness, or brings awareness to their contribution, what it is they can now do. Some people feel helpless until they kind of work through with a coach to say, oh, I can do that. That's something I can contribute. That's something that I can make my own. We talked about resistance as well. And sometimes people are kind of, they're in a role and they're stuck. They don't know where to go. And coaching helps them understand where else they can contribute versus just leave the organization and lose a resource. Certainly, if you take any change activities, you'll realize that as soon as you align and connect the passions of the people with the behaviors and direction, change will be very successful. Coaching has that capacity of helping the leader align the passions, align the behaviors, all to a specific outcome and goal. And that is what sustainable will result in sustainable change. So this is why it's tangible to me, not because it's really cool and you can hug a tree, and not because it's really great because you can develop people and they're really happy, although that's very, very true. Not just because, you know, it's a way in which people can develop faster. It's because it will have a direct connection to the bottom line. You will navigate the changes that you need to do in your business as a leader much more effectively, consistently, with more sustainability when you use the coach approach very, very effectively. So some insights, maybe some words you can choose to use in your organization to maybe get your influence of coaching others, or in fact developing the skill, get that into your organization as well. Okay, next slide there, my dear. Let's get to the real fun, shall we?
Okay, so we have somebody to introduce who has been graciously been willing to be a coachee today. And now I'm just, Cliff, are you off mute? Can we hear you?
I think you can.
Okay, and there you are. We can see you too. And Cliff is working, maybe you just say a little bit about yourself. And by the way, but before I say any, the one thing I'm going to say is this is not rehearsed. We have not discussed what's going to happen, except all I said to Cliff was to bring, you know, a problem he's got and get some coaching on it today. So, but Cliff, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, I'm a college instructor. I've been a college instructor for the last 30 years. And my involvement with coaching out of the box, I guess, began in 2016. I took the trainer program, and now I am involved in delivering coaching out of the box to my college environment.
Cool.
Great. That's fantastic. And so, okay, so we're going to move into coaching mode. And so we're going to take a few minutes, and I'm going to coach you for a little bit first, and then we're going to stop and talk a little bit about that. And then we're going to briefly, and then Merv is going to coach you. So you're going to get two coaches today. So Cliff, I asked you if you'd be willing to do this, and I said, you know, could you bring a problem that you're having and something you want to chew on with a coach? And so tell me, what would you like to, you know, chat about today?
Well, I'm coming to the end of my term, and I've had a student who has had some disability issues. I guess that's the easiest way to say it, and has been trying to work through the system to get some resolution. But the problem is, in all of that, is that the majority of the course has not been completed, and we're at the point where the student still wants to follow through based on some accommodations that have been suggested. And I've been wrestling with that for the last little bit, because I think it's, I think it's a bigger chunk than is possible.
Well, you know, I think I've heard enough. Cliff. That's you know, I mean, we've had this before at the college. Remember, I'm a you know, I'm a leader at the college, and you know, so to me, yeah, we've had that problem before or challenge before. So, you know, you've just got to take the bull by the horns, Cliff, and, you know, go and you know, put the actions in place and get it solved, because we got a lot of other things on the go as well. And so, you know, just go back. You know, there's a binder that we have you know, back in, well, I'll bring it, you know, my office. No, you've got it, actually. You've got the binder. And in there, we have definite policies and procedures that you follow when something like this has happened. So, you know, just go and make that happen, Cliff, okay? All right, so
Cliff.
So we're gonna, okay, so I'm gonna turn it over to Merv.
Cliff, how are you feeling right now?
Well, I'm thinking, I don't know about that time. So I'll actually have to go talk to Alison, but
Okay.
not what I was expecting, so to speak.
No, but it was a lot of good information, though, right? Because obviously Alison has the experience, and so, what did that help resolve your issue, though, sir?
No.
Okay, I got to ask you a question. What would help resolve your issue, do you think?
I think really what I need is to be able to kind of speak it out, have a bit of a sounding board, and maybe talk about some of the ideas that I have about what might be possible, get some feedback on that.
Sure, man, that makes a lot of sense. Are you clear with what the issue is? Can you declare what the problem is that you're really trying to solve here?
I think if I think about it, I think the issue looks like this. I've been trying to process, and I think there are three options in this situation. One is the student gets a medical withdrawal from the class. The other one is the student follows through and fails. And the other option is if student follows through and is successful. But the weight of it on me is that option number 2 is probably what we're looking at. And that really bothers me, I guess. That bothers me.
What, I mean, you don't want anyone to fail. Tell me more about why that affects you, though.
Because somehow, okay, so there is my, there's my sense of, you know, professional responsibility, etc. There is that. But somewhere in here, someone has dropped the ball to some extent in terms of what's going on. Or it may simply be the student is unwilling to recognize that there's a particular situation here that requires a certain action. And yeah, so I'm a little bit, you know, confused.
It sounds like maybe you're operating in kind of vacuum mode. Is there anyone else, maybe even the student, if I can suggest a direction, but is there anyone else that you could bring in to help you with this very heavy decision?
Well, I've had conversation with my dean, and I thought we had come to some kind of resolution, but now things seem to have shifted. And as it turns out, I am having a conversation tomorrow with one of the counselors and the student about ways to proceed. But it still weighs on me because based on prior experience with the student, I think the real option will be rejected, and that sends us down a road that I guess is not really comfortable for me.
What's the option that you want to promote tomorrow then?
Well, I think the option that should have been exercised way back, let me just say what should have been exercised way back was the medical withdrawal.
Okay, but what's your opportunity tomorrow? Now that didn't happen, what's going to be your point of view tomorrow?
Well, my point of view tomorrow is actually to a number of things. One is, I think the student needs to be clear on personal responsibility. And we can dance around and we can do whatever we want, but that student has to take responsibility for outcome. We will help.
Okay.
So that's in there.
Okay.
The other thing that's in there for me is, okay, what actually is involved between now and the end point? What are the things that actually need to be accomplished in the time frame?
Okay. So let me pause you there only because of time. But Cliff, it does sound, am I correct in saying that you have a fairly clear idea of how you're going to present your stuff tomorrow? Are you feeling more comfortable with your action plan?
You know, as I was drafting things before just now, and I think the piece that strikes me from what I'm looking at here right now is we have boundaries, we have structure, we have timeline, and then just presenting the concerns.
Yes.
Yeah, that's sort of
that's good clarity.
That's where I think I'm going.
Okay, I love where you're going, and I'd love to chat some more, but we're going to pause it for our effect here. A question we didn't ask you to or prepare you for is, who are you going to hire as your coach, Alison or me?
No offense to Alison.
I know, I like to win. And so what was it about our exchange, since all I was doing was asking questions, obviously, what was it about our exchange that worked well for you?
Well, for one thing, I felt you were listening, and so that allowed me to kind of speak into my situation, so to speak.
Yeah. What was it about Alison's point of view or approach, which was very much a management and leadership approach, which is simply says, you know, here's the criteria, this is what success looks like, this is what we've done before. So it's a very valid approach in terms of communicating with an employee. But what didn't work for you from a coaching perspective?
Well, I don't think Alison really listened to me. It was a preset, for one thing. And the other thing, probably, I think more important, is I have a specific situation.
Right.
I need input on the specific situation.
Right.
And I wasn't getting that.
Right. You had an objective that wasn't being reached.
Yes.
You had an agenda that wasn't being heard.
Yes.
Very good. Good distinction. Let's just continue to advance the slide one more, Alison, and see where we're in terms of, you talked about the listening skills, and all of these skills hopefully would have shown up in a variety of ways in our interaction. But regardless of what course you've taken, whether it's the 555 or any other management or leadership coaching course, these are core fundamental skills that, I mean, just think about this. If you were a leader and you were able to listen just a bit better, if you were a leader and you were able to motivate and engage people into their vision and encourage them into the vision better, if you were a leader and now you just had that little extra ability to ask those questions that people went, oh, I never thought of that. Thanks, boss. Thank you for that. Or if you were a leader that was able to really ask people to really explore what contribution they could make. Or if you were a leader that, rather than define the action for the other individual, has the capacity and talent and techniques to be able to get the individual to find an action plan for themselves. You see, these are the 5 skills that coaching will tattoo or connect with other leaders so that it rounds them out, so to speak, right? And so let's get back to Clifford for a minute, and thank you for your time. But also solicit anything from the audience in terms of, I mean, obviously good cop and bad cop, it was manufactured for you to see the differences. But what would it be? What would be the impact in your organization, do you think, if a large percentage of your leaders learned one or two of those skills that you're seeing on the screen now? What would be the impact, do you think, if your leaders got just a little bit better with one or many of those skills? What do you think you'd see? Chaos? Exhaustion? Happiness? People would feel that they're really being heard. Absolutely true. There is nothing more powerful than somebody says, my leader heard me. Although he didn't do anything about it, I was heard. That's powerful. Yeah, imagine what the feedback would look like. Instead of, I told you to do that yesterday, right? As Peter suggested, the interactions would be far more powerful feedback. Collaboration and trust would grow. Absolutely. Trust, what a huge, huge important thing to have, and a very missing component in many organizations. Right? Are people really empowered? I don't know. Those skills certainly would empower people. And so you're getting the gist here that by simply adding these 5 adjunctive skills to a leadership's kit bag, they get to fill the communication gap in, as Vicki describes. They get to really invite people into their world. It's no longer command and control. It's no longer I tell you do, because I'll bet you I won't know what you need to do. That, the knowledge worker doesn't want to be told. We often do a survey. Who wants to be told? And nobody puts up their hand. Surprise, surprise. Then we ask the question, who tells all the time? And everybody puts up their hand, right? And so we don't love being told. Wouldn't it be really cool if we found leaders that were able to engage people? That's what coaching does for me. That's why it's such a powerful adjunct to a leadership skill. Alison.
I want to point something out too that I think is so important. Well, and also thank you so much, Cliff, because this is a real situation. This is something that is on your mind and is going on. And thank you for indulging me with my kind of bossy tone. I kind of know how to do that one quite well, actually.
I won. He picked me. He picked me.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing that I want to point out too, that I think sometimes, and I know there could have been more time and so on, you know how long that whole little thing went with Merv and Cliff? Approximately 5 minutes. Approximately 5 minutes. Now, I don't mean the problems of the world were solved in that period of time, but that's 5 minutes. And we see this over and over again. Think about what kind of time, the way I responded, and I know I was a bit over the top about it, but what kind of time that takes up in organizations. I mean, and already I think, people fall through the cracks, things happen. And yet, with just using these skills can mitigate so many things that can lead down a lengthy time-consuming path as well. So I think it's really important because one time with one of these organizations that we've worked with, we did a thing 5, 5, 5, and 5. Our model is 5, 5, 5. Our 5, 5, 5 coaching skills training is a model which includes these skills, but also includes some other things as well. And we would go 5, 5, 5, and 5, meaning 5 minutes. Hot seat coaching, we called it. And so I just really want to emphasize the time thing, because some people think, oh, we don't have the time. We don't have the time to learn these skills. We don't have the time to figure it out. Anyway, I gave a much longer answer than I probably needed to. But that one gets me every time too. and the impact on that person and being listened to and heard is very, very powerful. So, and speaking of time, we've got a few minutes left, and I wanted to just say a bit more about who we are and what we bring. But I'm just curious, anything else that came out as a result of you observing and listening to this coaching exchange today? Any other comments?
Alison, I wanted to say something quickly
Yes,
about
yes,
the whole process that was happening with Merv and I.
yes,
So we have these 5 core coaching skills, and encouraging is the second one.
yes,
But I noticed as we were going on that him just listening to me was encouragement.
yes. Oh, good point. Yeah. Yeah. I'm really glad you said it. The very act of the way he approached this, who he was being, the questioning, the listening, the reflecting back. It was, yeah, that's fabulous, Cliff. Thank you so much, and thanks again for being willing to jump in front of all of these people. I really appreciate it. So, okay, so we've got about I think about oh, I'm seeing a note. Yeah, I was telling him what to do and leave him on his own. Yeah, go away. I don't want to deal with this. Yeah, Merv was sort of saying, I'm with you. Yeah. Yeah, what do you need to resolve this? And that's huge when they're not alone, when they're encouraged. It's so critical. Okay, so I just want to mention what's next. So if you're interested in our programs, doing business with us or so on, just schedule a call with Sandra, and or reach out to us via info or our 800 number. We'd love to talk to you. And I want to mention a couple of programs that are coming up. We have our programs, and you'll see our Train the Trainer. That's for those of you who are already experienced coaches and you want to become a coaching educator, like take it into organizations and teach them our proven model. We have a program starting May 2nd. We have our fast track for those of you who want to learn coaching skills starting May 7th. And we have our 555, which is the part of the model you saw today. And that starts May the 7th. And so those are things. And aside from that, you can visit our website. We have lots of resources. We will be sending out a follow-up email with information, more information about the Harvard results that we presented, if anybody's interested in receiving those. A little bit more about us. We're ACSTH approved, proven, and so on. You can see that.
That's really cool. What does that mean? What does that mean?
ACSTH? Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Approved coach-specific training hours by the ICF. Good question. Yeah, we're ICF approved. We're big fans of the ICF, and we believe if you're serious, you need to get a credential. Our programs are live, virtual, interactive. They're cost-effective, although we do go on site for organizations. I just want to emphasize that. And so I have a question. And somebody's saying, how is coaching out of the box different? We're targeted, we're cost effective, we go to the sweet spot of coaching when we focus on giving you those solid skills so that you can use those right away, and we focus and we're proven. I think that's really important. But what do you, and there's more if you want to talk more about that, Kim, what are you walking away with as a result of today's webinar? What's one thing you're walking away with? Anybody? Importance of asking questions. Yeah. 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 You're being curious. You're wanting to find out from them. That it is, oh, I like this one, that it is possible to get leadership to listen. Yep. There's good days, and that's a good day when somebody thinks that. Yeah. I want to be Merv. Oh, I love that.
You can be, Chris. for 6 labels of a cereal box, you can be me.
That's a great comment. That's lovely. Okay, and so I just want to end it with, what if everyone had these skills? That's what we're passionate about, and we thank you for attention to us today and for coming to this webinar. And anybody, the ROI of coaching, creating awareness from all angles. Thank you so much for coming, and please reach out to us. We're here. We want to support you as best we can. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you, Merv. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you, Sandra. Oh, Sandra, was there anything else you wanted to add? I apologize.
I think you've all covered it.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and put my email in the chat just in case anybody wants to shoot me out an email.
Okay. All right. Terrific. All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye. And
Thanks, Allison. Thanks, Merv.
You're welcome. And I will end the recording.